on this occasion, I'm meeting with a great photographer, Chris Floyd, who did an incredible shoot with Sir Paul McCartney, who I also happened to have photographed, but mine was a kind of reportage effort.
First of all, I have to start by saying how nice it is to be here. So thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, thanks.
Paul, yes. So I grew up as a huge Beatles fan and borderline obsessive in my teens. And also one of probably the very first photograph I ever saw that made me realise that photography didn't have to be weddings was a David Bailey portrait of John Lennon and Paul McCartney.
Yeah, iconic.
1965.
Yeah.
Hasselblad, square frame, white background, dark clothes, very, classically, austerely monochromatic.
Influenced by Avedon, probably.
Yes, definitely influenced by Avedon, I would say.
Yeah.
And I saw that probably age of about 14, maybe 15, and it just knocked me for six. I just thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. And I realised that photography could be a portal to meeting amazing people. That's my sort of photographic ground zero. So it's 2003, I am 34 and I'm living in New York, and I get commissioned to photograph Yoko Ono. That goes very well. At some point after that, they called and said, we've got a shoot with McCartney. We're going to do two covers. We're going to do a Yoko cover and a Paul cover. But Paul's in London, so we were going to get a photographer in London to do it. But we really like this shoot you've done with Yoko. If you'd like to do it, it's yours. But we cannot afford to pay your flight from New York to London. We can't. There's no way we can justify it. And I said, I'll pay my own flight. I just want to do it. I think it was probably maybe 2 weeks from them offering this to me and the shoot date, so a couple of weeks. And all I did for 2 weeks was to think about this, just morning, noon, and night. It's all I thought about. I was simultaneously incredibly nervous because it's represents the peak of all the things I wanted to do, the thing that inspired me in the first place, and it's a sort of dream come true of having the opportunity to have him as a subject.
Everything in your life had led to that moment.
Everything, all roads had led to this particular Rome, yes. The shoot was going to be at an arena in East London, the London Arena, and he was rehearsing there for an upcoming world tour of arenas. They told me that the arena floor was going to be empty. So it's just effectively a huge studio space. Yeah. Also, I was given 2 hours to set up as well, so I had a good amount of time.
I'm nervous thinking about it. I'm sorry.
What could possibly go wrong? Yeah. So, I'm nervous to this day. I'm nervous on every shoot. The thought of what could possibly go wrong.
Yeah. Something
is always going to go wrong. So we set up. I think I had 2 assistants, which for those at that time would have been extremely extravagant. I think I had a white backdrop and a grey backdrop. We're all ready. It's 10 o'clock. He arrives, and yet his band were on the stage already, and they were warming up. And they were playing some classic rock and roll song, like a Jerry Lee Lewis song or a Buddy Holly song. And Paul comes in, and he just can't resist the lure of the classic rock and roll jam.
It's his domain.
This is totally his domain. And I clearly remember him saying, "Oh, just give me a minute. I'll be with you in a minute." Jumps up on stage, picks up his bass, and just joins in with them. And then what happened was he just carried on, and they just went into rehearsals. So my 10 o'clock just went past, and we just sat there for what became hours and hours and hours.
I kind of like when I did him at Abbey Road Studios for my shoot, I felt like it was such a privilege. I mean, it must have been initially you were just thinking, he's playing for me.
This is a total thrill. This is a treat because he's got the whole crew there, the whole road crew. They're rehearsing for a tour, and it went on for hours. They did the whole. I mean, they did probably 30 songs, and I knew all of them. I remember phoning my mum at one point down the phone to her. Yeah, so we waited, and then eventually, I guess he must have finished. Probably there was a lunch break. It must have gone on till about 4 in the afternoon. We finally got him. he comes onto the little set we built, the white backdrop and everything, and he says, "Oh, okay, where do you want me? What do you need? What do you want?" I was so flustered at this point, at being. It was almost like I'd been waiting around for so long. I'd gone into sort of like shutdown, like a video game avatar who would just had like just sitting there waiting to be activated.
You'd crashed.
I'd crashed. Yeah.
Did you get lunch given to you or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
we were fed. I mean, everything was very nice. We had
Yeah.
nice vegetarian lunch.
Yeah, but you can't really enjoy it
No.
because you're
Can't
there
eat.
for a reason.
Can't really eat on a gig.
No,
Can't eat before a gig.
it's like being on a date.
Yeah,
At
totally.
the beginning of a
Yeah,
relationship.
it totally is. Well, I've often said that doing this job is like speed dating. It's every single shoot is form of
Like
speed dating.
me. You have to kind of create instant rapport, don't you?
It's
Yeah.
it's like the beginning, middle, and end of a relationship in sort of some other time in a sort of parallel universe where the entire relationship starts, peaks, and ends in half an hour. And you were madly in love with each other in the first 5 minutes, and after 28 minutes you hate each other.
So basically, you were spent. You'd kind of you
spent,
anticipated
yeah.
this.
I was anyway. He comes in. He comes down to where we set up. Been promised half an hour. So we start, and I think I've got half an hour, and I probably shot maybe 1.5 rolls of film, medium format, 10 frames, Mamiya RZ. Maybe shot a roll and a half, and then he just sort of clapped his hands together, like, right, you've got enough, haven't you? You must have enough.
Well-practiced manoeuvre.
Yeah. And I said, I thought we had half an hour. And he said, well, yeah, I know, but I'm actually going to the BBC now, BBC Radio. I'm doing a live BBC broadcast performance broadcast. So it's live. I have to be on time, and I've got to get there. And then I said, but we were told we'd have half an hour with you, and I was kind of prepared for half an hour. And
was your voice querulous?
Yeah. I mean, you're like a little
You
child.
were just about to start crying.
Crying, yeah. And he just said, I know, I'm so sorry. I know, but
It's for your own good.
but things, one day, son, you'll have learned your lesson, and you'll understand that I did this for your benefit. Anyway, I said, but I kept to half an hour.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, I know, but I've got radio live, BBC, can't be late. So I said, I came all the way from New York for this. I can't believe it. I was told I'd have half an hour. And I came all the way from New York. And he goes, what do you mean? You came from New York? But what do you mean you came from New York? I said, well, I live in New York. He says, you came all the way from New York for this? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, wow. Oh, I remember our first visit to New York. Amazing place. We had a brilliant time on our first visit to New York. Started talking about the Beatles' first visit to New York. So that was kind of amazing. And then he said, so when are you going back? And this was a Friday. And I said, well, I'm going back on Tuesday. And he said, well, what are you doing on Monday? Nothing. Well, I'll tell you what, come back on Monday and I will give you half an hour on Monday. Leave all your stuff here over the weekend. It'll be, we've got security here. People will look after it. Don't worry.
Wow.
Just
what a gent.
Just come back on Monday. I'll give you half an hour. And and I said, is that a deal? And he said, yes, it's a deal. And we shook hands on it. And then his car had driven into the arena, driven right onto the arena floor, and was sort of sitting there idling away. So we parted on very good, happy, friendly terms. We've come to a great arrangement. I'm very happy. He gathers his things up. He goes to get in the back of this car, and I remember sort of giving him a kind of almost a little salute, and just saying, "Okay, bye then, Paul. Have a good weekend. I'll see you Monday." And he goes, yeah, you too. Have a good weekend. See you Monday. And it was like, there was this moment where I felt like I had a work colleague called Paul McCartney who was bidding me a good weekend, and I'll see you Monday.
So did you develop the films that you'd shot so far?
I can't remember actually if I processed the film or not.
And how did you feel? Did you actually think he might Was there any element of doubt that?
Felt good about it
Yeah, you had
over
a good weekend.
over that weekend, because I knew that he psychologically
He owed you.
he owed, yes, exactly that. I knew that he owed me. He promised me half an hour. I was going to get my half an hour, and there's just no way that he could renege on that.
No.
You know, we shook hands on it. You know, and he's just not. He's just not that kind of person.
He's
I think
not that
if he
guy.
shakes hands with you, he means it. And so we had our half hour planned, and came back in on the Monday. We're all ready to go. I changed my backdrop to a grey one, I think, to the grey one. He arrived, and he was wearing a white T-shirt that wouldn't have worked on this grey background. I'm just like, oh, this is a disaster. What am I going to do? So I said to him, have you got anything dark? And fortunately, he had a huge wardrobe there, because they were doing full tour rehearsals. So he's got his blue crew neck on, and then he says to me, so what are you after? What sort of, because my wife was a photographer, was what he said, Linda, which is really lovely, actually.
Yeah.
So he says, what do you want? What kind of picture do you want? And I quoted him the Avedon one, this Mount Rushmore Avedon image. And it was amazing, because for me, that's a sort of iconic picture that's in the canon, to me, it's in the sort of 60s photographic canon.
Yeah.
And he kind of looked puzzled and thought about it for a second. And then he went, God, no, I don't remember that one. I just remember being awestruck by the fact of something that is so part of the culture, and yet the subject of that image is barely aware of it.
That's really curious, because I do think he's a visual person, and because he's very careful about he recognizes how precious the imagery of the Beatles is, and he owns a lot of the copyright of imagery that's been created in that service. So it's surprising that that would be. I
just think that maybe I didn't do a good job of describing it. Anyway, that's what I wanted. But what I didn't say to him was that I had this very acute awareness of how focused and ambitious he has been through his entire life. Even now, to this day. And I've said this before, I genuinely believe that he is going to be held in the same esteem as other greats, whether it's Shakespeare or Dickens or Mozart or Beethoven or George Gershwin or Hemingway. He's in that. He's at that level. He's at the same level as those people.
So now we're getting back into the arena. You set the stage.
So I've set the stage for that. So my point is, the reason I'm saying all this is that I wanted to get a portrait of him that I felt was commensurate with that level of kind of drive, determination, ambition, steeliness, seriousness, intensity, all of those things. That this is a focused man who has always been on a path, and that's what I wanted. But it's very difficult to get that from someone who's had their portrait taken 763,000 times. And for them, it is not a exciting prospect. For him, the thought of meeting me is not something that's taking up a huge amount of his thinking time of a morning. However, I am thinking about it for the entire 2 weeks between getting the call and the day of the shoot, right? So you have this power imbalance. In order to get him to a position where I can start to shape him photographically into what I want, there's a part of this job where you have to become a curiosity to your subject. It's like for us, this moment is our stage time, isn't it? We are now the performer in a way. And our subject is actually the audience, and you have to make yourself
worthy of his attention,
worthy of their attention. You have to make yourself an act that they are happy to sit and watch for a little bit longer. and to not, they don't want to get up and walk out and go for dinner somewhere. You know, they want to, I'm enjoying this show, I'm going to stay with this guy for a while, he's interesting.
And your previous sort of encounter, you know, you had actually sort of, you baited him and you'd drawn him into your world, and he was interested in the fact that you came from New York and so on. So you were on good footing.
Yes, definitely. We get going. He's got his dark jumper on. Everything's going well. He's fine. But he's really on autopilot. He gives me a bit of classic Macca. Well, hey, thumbs up. And that kind of stuff. And in my head, I'm just thinking, this is not the picture I want. This is not the picture I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get that determined, focused, driven thing. And our time is, I mean, in my book, I describe it as like being in the cockpit of a plane that's going down, and the ground is just getting bigger and bigger in the window as I'm crashing. He offers me a light-hearted pose or facial expression of some kind, and I say to him, no, just do less. Do less. You are an honest man. And you can be certain of your achievements. I said something like that. You're an honest man who can be certain of his achievements. Just give me that. And he said, what's the matter? Don't you like a bit of whimsy? And at this point, I have to say that it's March 2003. We are right in the first week of the Gulf War. So that's what's going on outside in the world. And I say, not when there's a war on, Paul. In a sort of Dad's Army way, you know.
Yeah, sort of slightly pompous.
We don't have time for the Donald Duck fancy dress party when there's a war on. It's a sort of a bit like that, you know. But he, I think, interpreted that as me really kind of castigating him for his frivolity, which is not what I meant at all. It was meant as a kind of light-hearted aside. But he took it, I think, the wrong way. And his whole demeanour just completely shifted. And I just saw this. It was like everything he'd been up to that point just kind of suddenly melted away, dissipated. And this other face emerged quite quickly. It was like all the effort he was putting into placating me just died. It was like he had, right, it was almost like, I've had enough of this guy now. Just get him out of here. And it became the portrait that I got. And then I thought, okay, now I need to clear the air with him in a way. I got to kind of make friends with him again and find a way to just smooth all that over.
On the date, you'd gone in and made a move, which you hadn't reached that stage in the relationship. No. So you have to kind of rein back a bit.
I put my hand on his knee.
Yeah.
In the cinema. And I got popcorn in my face. So I just said to him, okay, just close your eyes and relax. Just completely close your eyes. And I shot 3 frames of him with his eyes closed. And I just shot, I mean, they're all the same. All 3 frames with the eyes closed are all the same.
Yeah.
That's 30% of a roll of film, you know. So, but I think I just couldn't think of anything else to do. So I just kept doing them just to.
And did you know that you'd got something?
I knew I had it. I absolutely knew I had it with those, what was it, 6th and 7th frames on the roll. Yeah, I knew it. I just knew it.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I just knew then this is really something. And that feeling of unbelievable kind of relief that washes over you. There's a euphoria and relief that you have gone there and come out of it with something that was worth bothering to try for.
Well, thank you for allowing us to
Pleasure.
Pass a bit of time and appearing and telling us the story of Sir Paul McCartney.
Thanks for having me. Bosh.
All right.